How we doing, everyone? It's Friday, it's the end of another week. How's it been? This is Matt on the Vinyl Head UK channel, and I think it's time to share another vinyl video with you guys. So, it's been a good week. I've had quite a few new vinyl arrive to me. Not new records, but just new vinyls arrive to me. Which I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys over the next few weeks, including two debut albums by two huge metal bands, one of which I've got right here. I was really happy when these two records came. They came together. I suddenly felt like a real vinyl collector. I sat them there at the base of my record player facing at me, and they just looked amazing. I didn't even have to play them. Just looking at that artwork, those two records staring back at me looked amazing. And I've got one of them here to look at today. I want to share this one with you guys. It was only a matter of time. I've mentioned this band many times already in my videos, but they are my all-time favourite band. The band that got me into heavy music. I remember the first time I ever heard them, and I still get just as excited about hearing them right now in 2021. So this is one of those two debut records that I got, and here it is. Metallica, Kill 'Em All. The first album by these metal gods. Not to steal a phrase from Rob Halford, but metal gods right here. So yeah, Metallica, Kill 'Em All. So this album was initially released in 1983. As I say, it's the very first full-length album of a band. They put out the No Life Till Leather demo, and they were picked up off that. Some of those tracks ended up featuring on Kill 'Em All, but we'll go into a little bit more about that later. This is a 2016 remastered reissue by Blackened Records. It was mastered, the vinyl cut was mastered by Chris Bauman. So if you're not familiar with that name, Chris Bauman is quite the name in the vinyl circle for working his magic on many, many different releases. And he's definitely worked his magic on this one at times, I feel. As always, I'll talk a little bit more about how this vinyl sounds. Again, this is not going to be a review. I'm sure everybody on the planet at some point has reviewed Kill 'Em All and Metallica in general and the highs and lows of a band. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to review this record. I just want to talk about the vinyl, talk about the songs in general, and just why I love this album. Oh, I missed it. There we go. Why I love this album and why I love this band, okay? So, it was originally gonna be called Metal Up Your Ass, and it was gonna feature, I think it was a hand coming out of a toilet, but the record company felt that probably would be a bit detrimental to sales with the name of the album and that artwork, so it was changed to Kill 'Em All. And you can see we've got this hammer, kind of looks like a sledgehammer with that hand, and then the blood. Pretty simple. It's not that out there compared to some artwork by bands, but it is straight to the point. It's simple and it's effective. And then on the back, look at that, how young they look there. We have "Bang that head that doesn't bang," that quote at the top there. A picture of a very, very young Metallica with names and what they play, and then track listing and whatnot down below, producer, where it was recorded, etc. Okay, so this is in great condition. It was bought new from Discogs. Not a bump, not a crease. It's in perfect condition. Let's have a look inside. All right. So we get this, which has some pictures of a band back in the day. We've got Kill 'Em All, we've got Metallica logo there. As I say, some live pictures. One other of the four of them there. Right from back in the day, in the very early 80s when Metallica was formed. And then on the back here, we have our track listing. Again, we have credits, where it was recorded, all your typical mumbo jumbo corporate record company jargon, blah, blah. But we have track listing as well. It's quite simple. It's cool though. And then, can you guess what colour vinyl it is? I bet you can't. I reckon you know. If you've been following his videos, you know what colour it will be. So we got side 1 right here. There we have it. Black vinyl. Pretty simple. Metallica, Kill 'Em All. And then side 1, sorry. And then flipping it over, the same, side 2. Quite basic. No artwork, just the logo and the name of the record itself. So, who is in Metallica on this record? So this is what I guess many describe as the classic Metallica lineup. On vocals and rhythm guitar, we have James Hetfield. On lead guitar, Kirk Hammett. Bass guitar, Cliff Burton, who is no longer with us. Cliff was on the first 3 albums, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. Unfortunately, was killed in a tour bus accident back, I think it was in Sweden, which was very, very sad. He was an incredible bass player. If you've obviously heard those first 3 albums, you will know. Particularly one of the tracks on Kill 'Em All, which I'll come on to. And then the little Danish drummer, Lars Ulrich, on drums. So, as I say, kind of the classic Metallica lineup, which I'm sure many will see as the definitive Metallica lineup. Obviously, after Cliff died, we had Jason Newsted, who came in from Flotsam and Jetsam, who stayed with the band up until 2001, who then left the band. He went on to play for, he went and did Ozzy solo for a little bit. He did a bit of time with Voivod, and then did some solo, I think just one solo album as well. And then, of course, after that, we had Rob Trujillo come in, who's still with the band. Rob Trujillo was in Suicidal Tendencies, and then he also went and did solo for Ozzy before coming over to the Metallica camp. So yeah, the definitive almost era Metallica. Of course, we cannot miss off Dave Mustaine. Dave Mustaine was originally with Metallica before Kirk Hammett. Kirk played for Exodus, who are another Bay Area thrash band, and then joined Metallica. Dave Mustaine, who of course went on to form Megadeth, who are one of the big four of thrash, very, very big metal band as well in their own right. He was fired from Metallica, ironically, for drinking too much, and that's where Kirk came in. But there are tracks on Kill 'Em All which were actually written by Dave Mustaine himself, which I will talk about. So those tracks that were partly written by Dave Mustaine were the Four Horsemen, Jump in the Fire, Phantom Lord, and Metal Militia. So they do have credits by Dave Mustaine as well. Let's go through the track listing, because I've mentioned those tracks, but I haven't actually gone through the track listing itself. So as per normal, we've got side A and side B. So side A, or side 1, has Hit the Lights, The Four Horsemen, Motorbreath, Jump in the Fire, Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth, and then Whiplash, rounding up the first side. Second side, Phantom Lord, No Remorse, Seek and Destroy, and Metal Militia. Just a 4 on that second side there. It is 53 minutes, I believe, this record. Or 51, 52, 53, whatever. The early 50s. So it's a fairly long record compared to some that I have. Most of the records that I currently have are around the 40-minute mark, so about 20 minutes on each side. This is a little bit more. The first side has the 6 tracks, 4 tracks on the second one. Just looking at the times of the tracks now, Phantom Lord is near enough 5 minutes, and then the others are sort of 6.5, 7 minutes each. The Four Horsemen is the longest track on the record, just over 7 minutes. And then all of the other tracks on side one are sort of anywhere between 3 minutes and 4.5 minutes. So it kind of, in a weird way, evens out on both sides. Obviously, too many tracks on one side, you're going to lose those, like the space within the song, with the instruments. They're compacted in. It's a bit like what you get with CDs, and definitely what you get with digital. It's compressed, it's compacted in. You're not opening up those sound waves and getting those lovely, vibrant sounds coming through of these amazing records. So going through the record itself, as I say, I'm not going to review it. I'm just going to talk about the tracks. I'm not going to go, oh, 4 out of 5 on this one or anything like that, because I'm sure there are 1,000,001 reviews that you've seen or can find on the web, whatever. So I don't want to be another one of those. But I do want to talk about these tracks because it is Metallica and they're my favourite band, and I want to just sort of say what I think of each track, personally, what it means to me at least. So Hit the Lights. You've got that wall of noise that gradually rises up in volume to start with. Just big chords and the cymbals coming in. You know, it's not a riff as such, it's just a wall of noise. And then you get that riff. You get the crash of a drum, and then that riff straight in, and it's just thrash. It's thrash metal. There's no two ways about it. It is thrash metal. You know, for everyone out there that says Metallica aren't a thrash band anymore, they definitely were once upon a time, and it shows through on this record with Hit the Lights and other tracks, which we'll come on to. The Four Horsemen. This was originally, I believe, it was called The Mechanics. And obviously, as I say, it was written by Dave Mustaine. When Dave left the band, he went and did The Mechanics with Megadeth, so you can go and check that record out. It's just different lyrics. It's looking at it from a whole different viewpoint, completely different lyrical content. The lyrics on The Four Horsemen are about the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, whereas Dave's lyrics are completely different, about something else. But it is essentially the same riff and in a way the same music. It's a little bit quicker though than the Four Horsemen. And then it's got that bridge in it, which is very riff heavy, and then you get this Sweet Home Alabama-esque bridge, which takes the song. It's the longest track on the record, and it goes in lots of different places, but it has this really nice bridge, which, you know, you could argue it's ripped straight from Sweet Home Alabama, but everybody's got to have influences. The amount of bands out there that, you know, took stuff they've heard from Metallica or Maiden or Motorhead or Slayer, you know, Hatebreed record I did the other day, AD, the opening track on that record, is straight from the Slayer playbook. You know, it was like Slayer with a different vocalist almost. So yeah, it is very Sweet Home Alabama-esque, but, you know, there's worse songs it could sound like, definitely. Motorbreath, another fast track. It is the shortest track on this record, just over 3 minutes. It's about life on the road, love of all things fast, which, you know, anyone that follows the band away from Metallica as such, you know what their interests and stuff are. James is a big petrol head. We've seen that on tracks like Fuel, for example, and it's expressing that for the first time, really, I think. Jump in the Fire, probably for me, my weakest track on this one. I think it's kind of a, not poppy, but it doesn't kind of fit that riff. I don't think there's so much into everything else going on in Kill 'Em All. There are riffs in Jump in the Fire which I really like. I'm not hot on that riff. But it's kind of weird. It's like quite an upbeat, you know, as I say, kind of, it's not pop, but it's an upbeat, fun riff. But then it's lyrics about the devil. So, you know, it's that contrast, which is a very evil subject matter, but these fun, upbeat riff. Not my favourite track. Anesthesia, I can't even say it. The bass solo, all right? That's easier. Amazing. I'll come on to the sound of this vinyl shortly, but amazing. I'll leave it at that for now, okay? Whiplash. My favourite Metallica song ever is Whiplash. It is the ultimate thrash track. I think it's the track that spawned the subgenre of thrash metal. I kind of feel that is where it was born. Yes, there were tracks prior to the whole thrash metal movement which sounded fast and thrashy. For example, you know, with Overkill by Motorhead, tracks like that, there's one that just springs to mind. There's others, but you know, there were thrashier sounding tracks, but I think this is where thrash metal began with Whiplash. There's not just the riffs and the fast and the how the drums are, double pedal and the snare, typical thrash sound, but again, the lyrical content. Thrash, to me, there's several things I think thrash, when I think of thrash lyrics is what I think about, and stuff like horror movies, beer, war in some cases, religion to a degree. Matt's mainly sort of a Slayer, and then stuff like this where you're going to shows, you're banging your head, how loud it is, everything like that. Martial noise piercing through your ear, to pull a lyric from it. It's just thrash metal lyric 101 to me. Yes, a lot of thrash bands have sung about a whole bunch of different things over the years, but to me, this is a thrash lyric song, if that makes sense. Going with an incredible soundtrack with what they're playing at the same time. Phantom Lord follows that. I think this is a really underrated song. It's one that they don't play live very often, that I kind of wish they would. I don't think I've ever seen it live by Metallica, or any band in that matter. But I think it's quite an underrated track. And something, this is the beauty of vinyl. I've listened to Kill 'Em All for 20 odd years, and I've listened to that album a lot through CD and Spotify and everything else. When I listened to it on the first time with vinyl, I picked up something I've never heard before. And as I say, that's the beauty I'm finding with vinyl. I'm hearing notes and little nuances within the music that I've never picked up on before. And one of those was this that James Hetfield spouts out in Phantom Lord. And it was like Tom G. Warrior had just rocked up in this track. Yes, I know that Celtic Frost came sort of after this album and began after this album, but I don't know if it's a direct link. If Tom G. Warrior heard this and thought that sounds cool, I'm going to go a lot. But it just sounded Tom G. Warrior-esque, and I'd never really picked up on it or heard it before until I had it down on my vinyl, which was pretty cool. Like I say, I like hearing these little notes and nuances, as I say, that I've never really picked up on before. What do we have next? No Remorse. No Remorse. Probably, I say Whiplash is my favourite track, but No Remorse probably has my favourite riffs on that album. It's a mid-tempo track. It's one that you're not going to frantically bang your head to, but it's still, you know, dun 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 dun. It's just great riff. and it does pick up tempo in that last sort of minute and a half of the track to get more thrashy as such. But it's just a heavy, great track, and I can't get enough of that riff. It's one that they don't play as much live. I wish they would. I think Phantom Lord and No Remorse, I think they should play much more of. It's my personal preference. I'd rather hear those over certain other tracks that we hear a lot, but hey ho, I'm not writing the set list for them. And then Seek and Destroy follows that, which is a live staple. I think every Metallica show they play features Seek and Destroy. I believe it was inspired by a Diamond Head track. Obviously, new wave of British heavy metal was a big thing for Lars as a kid. When you look at Maiden, you look at Saxon, Diamond Head, Tigers of Pantang. Bands like that were very high on Lars's listen list as such. And so yes, I think this was a Diamond Head inspired track. I'm not sure which Diamond Head track it is. If you know, put it in the comments. But yeah, it's a staple. It's a live staple. And then Metal Militia to close off. Probably the fastest track on the record. Again, out and out thrash. Between Hit the Lights, Whiplash and Metal Militia, that is just thrash perfection right there for me. And then they carry it on with Fight Fire with Fire, but we won't go into Ride the Lightning. I'll be here for hours talking about Metallica otherwise. And it ends with what sounds like an army marching, and bullets firing as well, which I think is a nice, if you want to look into it, I think it's a nice thing that it's war. You hear the marching of the army, you hear the bullets, it sounds like war, and it's kind of war that you've just gone through with this album. Not in a bad way, but it's hectic, it's loud, it's in your face, there's a lot happening, especially coming off Metal Militia. What a way to end an album. You know, you could look quite deep in, or you could just appreciate the wall of noise getting slowly louder at the beginning, and then the bullets and the marching at the end. You could just think that sounds really cool. Up to you guys. How does this vinyl sound? The key question. As I say, we're not going to review, we just want to talk about what it sounds like now. This is a Chris Bauman vinyl master. He's cut it to vinyl on this particular pressing, and I think he does a good job. As I say, Chris Bauman is a name that most people associate with good sounding pressings. I think, in all honesty, it's not the best vinyl I have in my collection, but it's still pretty solid. It's not very loud. You really have to turn the volume up full to get the impact of the music coming at you, not just from a loudness point of view, but just to feel it a little bit more. I don't think music like this should be played quietly, in my personal opinion. I think this is music to be turned up. It's not background conversation music. You won't go to a nice elegant party and Whiplash is elegantly playing in the background. That's not going to happen. So I think it's music that needs to be played loud anyway. But with this particular pressing, I think you do need to turn it up to really get the effect of the music coming through. I think it loses it a little bit when it's down a little bit lower. And I've read that about other records. You just need to, it doesn't sound great when it's a lower volume. You need to give it a bit of welly and suddenly the record comes to life. And I think that happens with Kill 'Em All, definitely. What else can I talk about? The bass and the drums are the shining elements of this particular pressing. The drums sound magnificent, as does the bass. I talked about the bass solo earlier. I think for me, despite these incredible metal staple, legendary songs, Seek and Destroy, Whiplash, Hit the Lights, Four Horsemen, I think the best bit for me on this particular pressing was the bass solo. It sounded like, when you turn that volume up and give it welly, it's like Cliff Burton sat there playing. And you could feel it through your body. It wasn't distorted. I've talked about like feeling like you're vibrating in your room. it wasn't like that, but you could feel it coming into your body. You could feel it in your throat. You could feel it in your chest. It sounded amazing. And then when Lars kicks in with his drums, it just adds that extra element on top. But the bass just sounds wonderful. The tone, all that wah-wah pedal he uses, the distortion, it sounds amazing. It sounds like he's there playing, like he's got that old bass of his, old battered bass. He's got his stack. It's there in your room, and Cliff Burton's just jamming out. It's almost an honor and a privilege to be able to hear that. And it was one take. They say at the start, take one, and it was one take. And it's a very, very talented man who has gone far too soon. I would love to have heard Metallica through the years had Cliff still been with us, and to hear what Metallica sounds like these days. He was known for his love of music, which maybe the others didn't love as much. He was quite out there with his own thing, and I very much would have liked to have heard 2021 Metallica had Cliff still been with us. Would they have been as big as they are? Would we have had the Black Album and Enter Sandman as we know it? Or, you know, would they have gone off in a different direction altogether? Who knows? We will never know, unfortunately. But amazing to hear that bass solo as such. That's what brought him to Metallica. James and Lars hearing pretty much that solo and going, we need that guy in our band. And yeah, the rest is history. As I say, the drums sound incredible. There's certain, the fills sound good, but there's sort of what I would call stabs, dun dun, that sort of thing, where they are literally bursting out of the speakers as well. I don't at any point feel the riffs are bursting out, which is a shame. I want them to, but I don't feel they quite burst out as much. The drums and the bass do. I think the guitars don't so much. The same with James's voice. I don't know if it's because my favourite song and I wanted a bit more, but I felt a little disappointed in Whiplash that it didn't come at me more. I wanted it to, I've said it many times before, I wanted to smash around the face with that song and those riffs, and I don't think it did. It felt like it was being blocked a little bit from coming out the speaker. It wanted to, but it couldn't. It couldn't quite get out there, which is a shame. I had moments of feeling on other tracks where it did escape and I did get the full welly of that music, whereas I didn't feel it quite at all, if I'm honest, with Whiplash, which was a great shame. I'm not one of those that will go out and buy multiple different pressings of the same record. I don't have the money for that, and I'd rather just have a single version of a record and just collect different records. But I think this is definitely an album I would explore, maybe looking at a different pressing just to compare and see if it sounds better, maybe worse, because being so it is Metallica, I want to have the very best pressing that I can afford and get my hands on, basically. So it's definitely one I would explore and see if I possibly could find a better pressing. There's loads of forums out there, there's loads of stuff all over Google and the web, people discussing, so it's not too tricky to find, and just speaking to other people in the community can give their recommendations as well. But there we have it, Kill 'Em All by Metallica, the very first album of the best band in the world. Some might agree, probably others will disagree, but for me, these are the guys. I will be back once again with more content very soon. We will look at some more vinyl. I still have upcoming episodes of my download festival memories to share with you guys. I have a few other ideas in the pipeline of different videos that we can put out on the channel. So stay tuned. As always, subscribe, hit the like, hit the bell for all your notifications when content goes live. And until next time, kill 'em all.